That quiet weight in your chest when you know you're meant for more, but you're stuck where you are, not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for too long without being heard. I hate the feeling of waking up tired, not from work, but from life. The feeling of giving everything and still feeling empty. The feeling of smiling on the outside while something inside you is slowly burning. But listen to me, this feeling isn't here to break you. It's here to wake you up. Because the moment you say, I hate this feeling, is the moment you realize you're ready for change. Staying the same has a price, and most people don't realize they're paying it every single day. Not with money, but with time, energy, and pieces of themselves they don't get back. It looks safe on the surface, predictable, familiar, manageable, but underneath it's quietly expensive. It costs you mornings where you wake up already tired. It costs you excitement you used to feel about simple things. It costs you the sharpness in your eyes when you talked about the future. It costs you honesty because you start telling yourself stories just to make the situation feel acceptable. The cost of staying the same doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't knock loudly or demand attention. It sneaks in through routine, through habits that once helped you survive but now keep you small, through decisions you keep postponing because they feel inconvenient or risky, through the comfort of knowing what tomorrow looks like even if you don't like it, and that's how it traps you. By making discomfort feel scarier than slow decay, every day you choose not to change, you reinforce the version of you that learned how to cope instead of live. You get better at tolerating things that don't fit, better at explaining away dissatisfaction, better at shrinking expectations so disappointment hurts less. And that skill can look like maturity, it can look like patience, but deep down it's erosion, a quiet agreement to accept less than what you know you're capable of. The real cost shows up in the gap between who you are and who you could be. A gap that widens every time you ignore that inner resistance, every time you feel that tightness in your chest and choose distraction over direction, every time you say later when your body is already asking for now. It shows up in the way you envy people who took risks you talked yourself out of, not because they're better than you, but because they were willing to lose comfort to gain alignment. Staying the same demands constant justification. You have to keep explaining to yourself why it's fine, why it's not that bad, why other people have it worse. And that mental effort is exhausting. It drains you more than change ever could because change is hard for a season, but staying the same is hard every day. It asks you to suppress instincts, mute intuition, and silence questions that won't stop coming. There's also a cost to your self-respect because somewhere inside you know when you're not being honest with yourself. You know when fear is driving instead of intention. And even if no one else sees it, you feel it. It shows up as frustration you can't explain, irritability that comes out sideways, a restlessness that never fully settles, and over time that creates distance between you and yourself. The cost of staying the same is paying interest on avoidance. The longer you wait, the heavier the decision becomes. What once required courage starts demanding sacrifice, relationships strain, opportunities pass, confidence weakens. And the idea of change grows larger in your mind than it ever was in reality. Not because change became harder, but because you practiced not choosing it for too long. You don't stay the same because you were lazy. You stay the same because at some point staying felt safer than stepping into uncertainty. But safety that suffocates isn't safety. It's containment. And eventually the part of you that wants to grow start pushing back, creating discomfort, creating tension, creating that feeling you can't name but can escape. That feeling is the invoice. It's the receipt for all the days you chose familiarity over truth. And it's not punishment, it's information. It's showing you exactly what staying the same is costing you so you can finally decide whether the price still makes sense, whether protecting comfort is worth sacrificing potential, whether holding on is worth what it's taking from you. The moment you see the cost clearly, staying the same becomes an active choice instead of an accident. And that awareness alone changes something inside you, because now you know you're not stuck, you're deciding. And decisions can be changed even quietly, even slowly, even one honest step at a time. I hate this feeling because it has a sound even when everything is quiet, a pressure that sits behind the ribs and refuses to leave, the kind of weight that doesn't show on the body but bends the spine anyway. The kind that follows you into the morning and waits for you at night. The kind that makes you question why you're still standing when sitting down would be easier and disappearing would feel like rest. It's not loud or dramatic. It's slow and patient. It doesn't scream. It whispers, and that whisper says you're tired in a way sleep can't fix. You're exhausted in a way weekends can't heal. You're empty in a way food and noise and distractions can't fill. And the worst part is how normal it starts to feel. How you learn to live with it like background noise, how you smile through it, how you nod and say you're fine because explaining the truth would take more energy than you have left. I hate this feeling because it shows up when you've done everything right, when you kept your word, when you showed up even when no one was watching, when you carried more than your share and told yourself it was temporary, when you chose patience over anger and silence over complaint, when you believed that consistency would be rewarded and that effort would be seen, and then one day you look around and realize you're still here, still waiting, still holding the line, while the world keeps moving like you were never part of the plan. I hate this feeling because it makes strong people doubt themselves, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, one small question at a time. It doesn't say you're a failure. It asks why it still hurts if you're doing your best. It doesn't say you should quit. It asks what the point is in continuing. It doesn't tell you to give up. It asks how long you think you can keep going like this. And those questions are dangerous because they sound reasonable, they sound logical, they sound like self-awareness when really they're erosion, wearing you down grain by grain. I hate this feeling because it comes from caring, from wanting something more than comfort, from believing your life is meant to mean something beyond survival. People who don't care don't feel this. People who quit early never meet it. This feeling belongs to the ones who stayed, who tried again, who carried hope longer than it was comfortable to hold, who kept believing even when belief started to feel naive. It's the cost of not giving up too soon and not giving in too easily. I hate this feeling because it isolates you, because it convinces you that you're alone in it, that everyone else, it figured out that you're the only one stuck between who you are and who you're trying to become. But the truth is, this feeling lives in a lot of quiet rooms, in a lot of late nights, in a lot of people who look calm on the outside and carry storms inside. It's just that no one talks about it because strength has been confused with silence. I hate this feeling because it shows up right before something changes, right before a decision has to be made, right before you either shrink yourself to fit the life you're in or expand yourself to reach the life you want. It arrives at the edge, at the point where pretending stops working, where distractions lose their power, where comfort no longer feels comfortable. It's a signal, not a sentence. This feeling isn't here to destroy you. It's here to confront you. It's asking whether you're going to keep living on autopilot or finally take responsibility for what you know isn't working. It's asking whether you're willing to be uncomfortable on purpose instead of miserable by default. It's asking whether you were brave enough to disappoint the version of you that's settled so the real version of you can finally breathe. You don't need to panic because of this feeling. You don't need to label it as weakness or failure. You need to listen to it without letting it control you. You need to understand that it exists because something inside you refuses to accept a half-lived life, because some part of you still believes there's more honesty, more alignment, more purpose waiting on the other side of fear. This feeling is heavy because growth is heavy. Change costs something. Staying costs something too. The difference is one price buys you ret, and the other buys you progress. And right now, your body and mind are telling you that the cost of staying the same has become too high, that the weight you're carrying isn't from effort, but from resistance. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are awake, and being awake hurts before it heals. Awareness comes with discomfort before it brings clarity, and clarity demands action, not overnight miracles, not dramatic exits, but small, honest moves, quiet decisions that align you back with yourself, choosing differently even when no one applauds, even when it's lonely, even when it's slow. I hate this feeling, but I respect it because it doesn't lie, it doesn't flatter, it doesn't numb you. It pushes you to face what you've been avoiding, to admit what you've outgrown, to stop betraying yourself for the sake of familiarity. It asks you to stand up inside before you stand up in the world. If you're feeling this right now, it means you're closer than you think, not to comfort, but to truth, not to ease, but to direction. It means something old is no longer strong enough to hold who you're becoming, and something new is waiting for you to choose it, even if your hands are shaking, even if your voice is quiet, even if all you can say right now is that you hate this feeling and you're done ignoring endurance doesn't always look heroic. Most of the time, it looks like showing up when no one is clapping, like carrying weight without announcing it, like choosing restraint when reaction would be easier. And over time, you get good at it, so good that people stop noticing. They assume you're fine because you're consistent. They assume you're strong because you don't complain. And you let them because explaining feels heavier than holding it in. Silent endurance builds a kind of strength that isn't loud, but it's real. It teaches you discipline, patience, self-control. It hardens your edges just enough to survive difficult seasons. But when endurance goes on too long without direction, it stops being strength and starts becoming self-erasure. You keep enduring situations you've already outgrown. You keep surviving chapters that were meant to end, and the skill that once protected you begins to trap you. There's a difference between being strong and being stuck, and silence can hide that difference even from yourself. You tell yourself you're just being resilient, just being responsible, just waiting for the right time, but deep down you feel the fatigue, not physical, existential, the kind that comes from holding your breath emotionally for years, the kind that makes rest feel unproductive and joy feel unfamiliar. Silent endurance often comes from loyalty to people, to promises, to versions of yourself that no longer fit. And loyalty is a beautiful thing, but misplaced loyalty becomes self-betrayal when you stay quiet to keep the peace while losing your own, when you carry more than your share because you don't want to be a burden, when you keep tolerating misalignment because you don't want to disappoint. That's not strength, that's sacrifice without consent. The danger of silent endurance is that it delays honest confrontation, not just with others, but with yourself. You postpone the conversation you know you need to have. You avoid the decision you know is coming. You keep pushing through, hoping clarity will arrive on its own. But clarity doesn't come from endurance alone. It comes from truth, and truth requires you to stop pretending that tolerance is the same as fulfillment. Strength doesn't mean you never question. It means you listen when something inside you starts asking harder questions. It means recognizing when endurance has done its job and it's time to shift from surviving to choosing, from holding on to letting go, from proving you can take it to deciding whether you should. There is courage in saying this is too heavy, not because you're weak, but because you respect your limits. There is integrity in acknowledging that you've changed, that what once made sense no longer does, and there is power in breaking silence, even if the first person you speak honestly to is yourself. Silent endurance doesn't fail you. It prepares you. It builds the capacity to act with intention when the moment comes. And when you finally stop enduring and start directing your life, that strength doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes clarity, boundaries, and decisive movement. It becomes the ability to walk away without bitterness and move forward without noise. If you've been enduring quietly, it doesn't mean you've wasted time. It means you've been gathering strength in stillness, but stillness is not the destination. It's the pause before motion. And the moment you recognize that, endurance becomes a foundation, not a prison. Choosing discomfort on purpose is different from suffering by accident. Suffering happens when you stay where you know you don't belong. Discomfort is what you feel when you move towards something honest but unfamiliar. One drains you quietly, the other strengthens you slowly, but from the outside. They can look the same, both feel heavy, both challenge you, both test your limits, and that's why most people avoid change, not because they're incapable, but because they mistake purposeful discomfort for unnecessary pain. When you choose discomfort with intention, you take control of the struggle. You decide which weight is worth carrying, instead of letting life assign it to you. It means saying yes to learning instead of avoiding embarrassment, yes to growth instead of protecting ego, yes to short-term unease in exchange for long-term alignment. It's uncomfortable to speak the truth, to set boundaries, to walk away from what once felt safe, but that discomfort has direction. It leads somewhere. Avoiding discomfort feels like relief in the moment, but it compounds into something heavier because what you avoid doesn't disappear. It waits, it grows, it demands payment later with interest, and eventually you feel trapped by a life built around comfort instead of meaning. Choosing discomfort early is an act of self-respect. It's acknowledging that Your future self deserves better than temporary relief. Purposeful discomfort requires clarity. You have to know what you're moving toward, not just what you're running from. Otherwise, you're just suffering with a different story. The goal isn't to make life harder, it's to make it more honest, to align your actions with your values, even when it costs you convenience, approval, or certainty.